Well, the role of Abahlali, the shareholders movement of South Africa, in the coalition of the poor in Durban is one of the most significant role to actually unite the poor and the working class. So the movement is playing a very leading role in making sure that the coalition itself is strong. And the coalition can only be strong when we, as leaders of the coalition and all members of the coalition, have built a strong foundations on individual organizations. So it cannot just be a coalition without us strengthening the shareholders movement on its own, without us strengthening the street traders. It cannot be strong without us strengthening the hostel dwellers and environmental activists, the fisher folks, the right to know, the migrant communities, all these individuals, organizations that are part of the coalition, including trade unions, needs to be strong on their own. It's only when that strength comes together in a form of a coalition, then we can actually tackle all the challenges, including the socio-economic rights that are troubling this country, but also it is the only way we can dismantle the systems of capitalism that renders us homeless, that throws us into deep poverty and so on. So the role of Abahlali, because we are clear about the need to unite the poor across color lines and across the globe. Hence, the coalition of the poor becomes a significant formation for us to start off with. And in that formation, we should also expand the coalition to include students. For instance, the fees must fall, to include some of the formation that we still need to identify who are not necessarily part of the coalition. And the coalition should not just be a Durban-based coalition. I'm happy that we are now at the level of the province of KwaZulu-Natal. But our task is to go beyond that at the national level, regional level, and global level.
Uboshwe nje because of the councillor want you to be arrested. Akhetha abantu abangukuthi bafanele ukuthi bakuvulele icala. Yiyo lento lengibona ukuthi mangabe singama movements sihlangana ndawonye sikhuluma ngalizwi linye. Into yokuqala fanele beyenze ukushintsha umthetho lo engubhekile manje. They did it ukuthi singakwazi like ukubuyisa umhlaba wethu back. Bathi sitshontsha umhlaba masingaqala silwe nendaba ukuthi akushintshe isystem umthetho lo obekiwe ama-court ashintshe then sibuyele esystemini yethu yesintu. Ngibona ngathi lapho sizokwazi khona ukuthi silwe ne-capitalism, sikwazi ukuthi sibuyise kakhulu i-socialism, because masihleli phansi sikhuluma in experience yami lokho like esikwenza thina singabahlali sihlale phansi sikhulume izinto ilapha ngibona khona ukuthi izinto eziningi ziyasebenza. Kusho ukuthi complaint yami kakhulu isemthethweni lo wenziwe, because lo mthetho besingekho wenziwa asiwazi ukuthi ukhande ubani and we are using it. And then masebenzisa lo mthetho kanjalo yiwo umthetho osubuyisela emuva singakhona ukuthi ngabantu sikwazi ukuthi simele.
So it's always good and well to know what are our challenges, how do we identify them, but of course that is only as useful as what we can think about as it relates to the way forward. So the question of what is to be done, what should we be doing, is of course the central question that we should be asking. Really the point of having this kind of historical, theoretical analysis is to ask the question about like what are the kind of ways in which we need to build a revolutionary praxis in the sense of something that combines ideas with actual practical questions and things that we need to do. And here I think there are a couple of elements that are important. Number one, we have to recognize that what is the enemy we are up against, whether it takes an expression of a police force that is aggressively destroying houses or a capitalist class that wants to continue making money in a crisis. The enemy we are up against is not an enemy that is isolated to one small part of life. It is international, it crosses borders, there are people there are companies If you go, whether you're sitting in Johannesburg or Lusaka, you find very similar companies that are making a profit in the malls and in the various spaces. So
well, I'm pleased that the question of the poor is being addressed. Let me say that first. And the way to do that is to bring the leadership among the poor. There are many organizations and movements like the one Abahlali Basemjondolo, and there are several other church-based organizations, but there are also organizations outside the church who would be willing, I believe, to come together and to discuss ways and means of strategizing, of overcoming poverty. That's probably the most important way. In other words, to do it through a process of consultation. We involved in them. The other is for say religious organizations and other NGOs to take the initiative themselves and to look at their own finances and their own strategies and so on, and then say, how can we make this available to the poor in our communities? Because all religious organizations have a fundamental belief in caring for the poor, whether it be running feeding schemes and so on. But I personally am of the opinion that we should create jobs so that they generate that income for themselves.
Problem esibhekene nayo kule nkululeko yiyo leyo. Now ungase ufise okokuthi kungesithina sodwa, ungase ufise lokokuthi kungathithi kulesi simo esikusona kwakungcono nakuqala kunamanje. Ungase ufise ukuthi usho njalo. Why uzofisa ukuthi engathi kwakungcono kuqala kunamanje? Because nomahluko usawuboni. Umahluko lo inkinga ongawuboni ukuthi kahle yini umahluko la? Yini umahluko la? Ngabe senkululekweni kodwa ngahlala kwi situation worse than eyayikhona back then. Situation yaqhubeka yaxaka engihlezi kuyo kune situation yayikhona ngesikhathi obaba besaphila. Kwenziwa yini? Kanti kuzoba nini thina simasha? Kuzoba nini thina simasha? Kuzoba nini thina kanti sihlangene la sishiya amakhaya ethu sihlangene la ngoba azitholakali lezi zinto esizifunayo? Azifiki emadlebeni abo. Kodwa ekseni kusasa billions and billions of rands, they are gone. Namhlanje masiyolala sizobe sizizwa lezi zinto. Lezo kufanele ngabe zisavisa thina. Yaqona. Semaphaketheni abantu. We must clap hands, God. Sithi sikwi-New South Africa. Problem esibhekene nayo.
place in the country where the poor have been forgotten and abandoned. Like we've done in the UDF during the days of challenging apartheid with the United Democratic Front, we have come back now and realized that the same process and procedure of door-to-door mobilizing